Joining us now is a UK lawyer. He's also an arbitrator and mediator, Mr. Momo Kadri, who joins us now from London. Mr. Kadri, thank you for joining us on The World Today.
Thank you, Margie. Thank you for having me.
This issue of racism and police brutality has gone on for years and years, and America has always been put on this pedestal of, fighting for the oppressed, dishing justice. How do you think protests going on now impact on the country's image?
First of all, can I also send my thoughts and wishes to the family of George Floyd? What has happened in the U.S. Obviously, it's a reprehensible show of brutality by law enforcement agents. In this case, the police, and it's a stark reminder that the U.S. that has been a country that has been known for, as we say, the land of the free, if in 2020 we're having incidents of this nature, I think it brings to question the real concerns that people have had over the years, including people of color, particularly the African Americans. Now, in terms of how people would look at the U.S. and the impact it has on the U.S., I think it's going to be quite significant, not only by the expression of the widespread demonstrations that you have seen in the U.S., but also, of course, across the globe. Now, the U.S. is supposed to be a welcoming society where many people go and study, they go for tourism, they go for investment and what have you. Now, when you see graphic images of police and law enforcement agents holding down a gentleman who was unarmed, who had already submitted to arrest, I think it brings a lot of questions more than answers at the moment.
Yeah, we also have seen, such images, unfortunately, in other parts of the world, Nigeria inclusive. And I'm sure you've seen the number of videos of those protests going viral, even here in Africa. So how could racism and police brutality in the U.S. be interpreted in this part of the world? And what can we do to make the police even more responsible?
I think there is a short and a long answer to that question. Now, in terms of the short answer, which is that police brutality by law enforcement agents is real, and racism is real. And it is unfortunate that you and I are having this conversation in 2020. We are still discussing racism in America. Now, in terms of the solution or what can be done in terms of accountability for law enforcement agents, I think that law enforcement agents need to be accountable. There needs to be justice. The rules are very clear. If somebody is suspected to have committed an offense, there's a process, there's a procedure that is followed, and that is supposed to be followed. In this case, from the video footage that has been seen by millions of people around the globe, it is clear that this gentleman was not armed, as I mentioned before. Now, police officers have to be brought to book. I understand that the 4 police officers are now being, charges are now going to be brought against them. But I think the problem is beyond just prosecution of law enforcement agents and the police in this case. I think the solution needs to look outside of law enforcement. There are many areas that needs to be looked into. For example, there needs to be political leadership at the very highest level, whereby there is affirmative action being taken against discrimination and racist misbehavior that we have seen, and people of color, in this particular case, African American.
And I think we'd have to leave it there, Mr. Kadri. I'm so sorry for interrupting, and thank you again for joining us on The World Today. We'll bring you back on the show to have more thoughts on this. Thank you again for speaking with us, Mr. Momo Kadri, a lawyer, arbitrator, and mediator in London.